Hey guys and gals, this is Psionic Arrow with the Churchill VII Tier 6 British Heavy Tank, and this is actually a rather unique tank, mostly because of its armor, its speed, and its weapon, its top cannon. It has 880 hit points, 40.73 tons with a 350 horsepower engine, and no, I did not forget to upgrade it. That is the top engine that you get on this tank. 20 kilometers per hour is its top speed. 20 degrees of track traverse, 32 degrees of turret traverse, 360 meters of view range, and 550 meters of signal range. So that's actually not very good. The view range and the signal range, they're not very good, but because of how this tank works, you're probably going to be in the midst of battle, and probably in a town, somewhere where you're going to be hidden from artillery, because you are really, really slow, and you can't turn really very well at all. Now, armor-wise, 152 millimeters of armor on the front, so that's pretty good. Actually, that's really good. 95 millimeters of armor on the side, both turret and hull, so that's actually really good as well. And 95 on the back of the turret, 50 millimeters of armor on the back of the tank. So that is its weak point right there. If anybody really needs to attack it and it's got terrible penetration, mostly light tanks, you will be able to get around the Churchill VII, shoot him in the butt, and keep doing it continuously, really, because gun depression on the Churchill VII is not that great, and because it cannot turn very fast, you'll probably be able to get around it and just humiliate it if it's by itself. So drivers of the Churchill VII, you need to stay with other people. You need to try and track scouts before they get up to you. And with this cannon, the QQF 77mm Mark something, Mark II, you should be able to fire extremely fast and take out any scouts that you see. Now, even though it's got 152 millimeters of frontal hull armor, it does have some really large weak points. And if we take a look, a little bit like this, you'll see that this entire section here is flat, lower plate is flat, and they're actually pretty large targets as well. Driver's hatch is what this is, and the machine gun port here. And those are weak points as well. So, if you can get hull down, that's a pretty good bet, because the turret's not actually that large. The actual hull of the tank is extremely large, so I'm not sure if you can actually hide your hull and go hull down very easily. Gun depression, not that great. And overall, this tank, I did not really like this tank. It's too slow for my tastes, and it does not handle itself well in high tier matches. In a low tier match, such as a tier 6 or maybe a few tier 7s, you'll be able to do a lot of damage. You'll be able to handle yourself quite well, and your armor is it's probably going to stand up to most of the incoming fire that you're going to get. Now, once you start facing tier 8s, the penetration, the weak penetration of the top cannon will be your downfall, and you can't really hurt any of the tier 8s from the front. I'm pretty sure you can bounce off of French tier 8 tanks from the front, and that's saying something. Now, that doesn't say you need to fire premium out of this thing. You can aim for weak points, and well, the most trouble I found was probably the Tiger II, and that's really it, I think. IS-3, obviously, it's hard to hit, but if they're not really proficient at playing, they'll probably be angling their armor at you, and that means you can just go straight through their 110 millimeter front, which is unangled because they've angled themselves, and basically presented their weak points to you. Tiger II drivers are usually a lot better at hiding the lower plate and angling, so you're going to have a lot harder time to penetrate those guys. So let's take a look at the cannon first. This is the top cannon, the QQF 77mm Mark II. It has 148 millimeters of average penetration, 140 damage, with 0.36 accuracy and 2.3 seconds of aiming time. 13.95 rounds per minute rate of fire, which means roughly 3.5 seconds to reload the cannon. Now, that means you can switch ammo types rather easily, and I do like to keep a few premium rounds in my tank. That would be 6 currently, and that gives you 208 millimeters of penetration, and that means you'll be able to hurt Tier 8 tanks from the front easily. You'll be able to reset cap quite well, and basically do lots of damage to people that don't suspect that you can do damage to them at all. This is actually a great tank to reset cap because of how fast it fires, but really any fast firing tank is good at that. Let's see. Tier 6 tanks you should look out for are the KV-2, KV-1S, and the ARL-44, because those guys have the most amount of chance to damage you. So, let me check. I really only have the KV-2 on me right now, and if you check on the KV-2's weapon of choice, it's usually high explosive, 86 millimeters of penetration, 910 damage. Because it's firing HE, it doesn't matter where he fires on you, he's going to hit you and do damage, so it'll be maybe 300 and not the 910 unless he shoots you in the back, right there. So try not to let a KV-2 come around and shoot you in the back. He could one-shot you. However, shooting from the front, it's usually a safe bet that he will not do full damage, but he's going to do a lot of damage to you regardless. KV-1S has the 175 pen 390 damage weapon, which is extremely inaccurate, but if he manages to, well, if you don't angle yourself properly, you know, maybe you should try and angle a little bit like this, a little bit more, because you do actually have 95 millimeters of armor on the side of your tank. This might be a little bit too much, but KV-1S will have a pretty easy time penetrating you from the front. ARL-44 is going to have a pretty easy time penetrating you from wherever you are, because of its massive 212 millimeters of penetration on its top 90 millimeter cannon. So, because the turret is placed in the middle of the tank, you're going to want to take corners really carefully. You don't want to expose your tank. Basically, you're going to have, if you go straight out, like I've seen some people do, then you're going to expose more than half your tank before you can, well, a little bit less than half your tank, and then more than half your tank once you get your turret out there and start firing. So that makes you an incredibly large target for artillery, for rather really any tank at all. So with the high amount of armor that you get on the side of your tank, you'll want to side scrape, and that's basically backing out and presenting an angled side, and because of the added armor for the tracks, you'll actually get maybe track damage, but it's really hard to track one of these things from the side. Now from the front, if you shoot here or here, then you're going to track it rather easily, and that's not a good thing to be in a Churchill VII when it's tracked out in the open. You're going to want to repair that quickly, get out of artillery range, or if you're tracked behind a building, that's not so bad, because obviously you'll be able to hide yourself without moving. The Germans don't really have a heavy tank in Tier 6, so really the German mediums you're going to have to watch out for would be the VK3601H, because it's got a ton of armor on its own. Even though it's their top weapon, the 88mm L56, it has only 132 millimeters of penetration. These guys have a rather interesting feature where they actually do hit where they're aiming, and they'll do quite a lot of damage to you. And let's see, I believe the 3001P is the one that can do a little bit more flanking, and the 3001H can flank, but its turret is really slow, so it's not that great either. Now those guys, you'll probably just want to track and hopefully keep them permanently tracked. Just keep on tracking them, and if you're aiming, okay, well, you can't really see it on a Churchill, but let's say this Tiger. If you are aiming at the tracks and you want to do damage as well as keep them tracked, let's say they come out at the wrong angle, fire at this thing here. Basically, it'll track them and do damage, and that's a really great thing. And I probably don't do that in this replay though. So, with that said, let's get on to the replay. Alright, and we're on Muravanka. This is a tier 6 match. Because, well, I don't really have incredible matches in any other higher tier matches. They're just basically me firing futilely at the tier 8 tanks because I'm left alone. So I'm heading over to the west side, and that's usually where I go. Obviously, if you're in a Churchill 7 and heading to the west side, you're going to want to be careful of artillery because there's no artillery cover on that side. However, this match does not contain any artillery at all, and I'm actually really thankful for that. Alright, so we're sending not too many guys over here. Most of them went into the forest with the Talk 2s. As you can see, speed of the Churchill 7 is really poor, and once you start turning, it gets even slower. So, gonna be heading up here. There's a T-14. It's got pretty good armor, actually, mostly because of its sloping. Alright, here we go. Throw it up. There we go. Get a nice shot in.
Enemy is hit.
Managed to track him, and somebody else took him out. So here's an enemy M6, and those guys with the 90mm cannon are actually really hard to fight because they do reload quite fast, and it's got some pretty good frontal hull armor as well. Obviously, it only works against other tier 6 tanks, just like this one. Alright, so M6 is not looking at me, so I'm just going to... Oh, he is looking at me now.
The track is damaged. Enemy armor
There we go, I'm
damaged.
angling myself slightly,
We've just dinged them.
and all they're really doing is damaging my tracks.
We
And
didn't even scratch them.
that's not good.
One of our tracks is damaged. We've got them.
Yeah, okay,
Our
somebody's
main gun is
firing
damaged.
HE
It's
at me, I
working,
think,
but not very
and
well.
the M6 has
Enemy
damaged me
armor
finally.
is enemy vehicle destroyed. Get going.
So, even with a damaged cannon, this thing is pretty good at shooting. However, that was a bit more close range than I would have liked, and now I'm down to 32% health.
They're hit.
Managed to track the other Churchill 7, who looks like he's got the stock turret, so not much armor on that, and we're just going to fire into him.
Enemy vehicle knocked out.
It looks like our team on the east has cleared out the forest, and they're just going to come in and wipe out anybody behind them. Can't really get any shots on the KV-1. Okay, well there's an AT-2, and those guys have pretty good frontal hull armor, but I'm going to assume that he's facing our team on the other side. Yes, he is.
Enemy
And I'm
armor
just
is
going to
hit.
get some really nice shots in on the side of it, where it doesn't have a lot of armor at all. Oh, okay, he's spotted again.
It bounced
And
off.
as you can see, he's actually angled himself to my position and I can't penetrate him anymore. Until
That's gotta hurt.
I hit the top of his tank where it's not as well armored.
Enemy vehicle destroyed.
That's pretty much it. That AT-2 is slow. I'm slow. I'll never reach it in time. And just gonna sit here, basically wait for the spots. Aha! Can I hit him?
Enemy
Yes, I
vehicle
can.
destroyed.
Alright, so pretty good sniper cannon as well. Let's take a look at the stats. Mastery badge first class with 918 points of experience. Let's see, 5 kills, 1,617 points of damage dealt to the enemy, 23 shots fired, 19 hit, 15 penetrations. Let's see, premium credits earned would be a little under 20,000. Non-premium would be a little over 10,000 credits. So that's not too bad. And obviously it's on a 5 times event, which is why I got 6,885 points of experience. So thanks for watching. Please press that like button and leave some comments. I'll see you in future videos.